Gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Pow! Pow! Anyways, we always started off that way. Hey, everybody, we're here with Gary Binford from United Patriots Uprising. He has really a great show going on, and I've watched several of his shows. He's got a lot of great speakers on, and we're going to learn about him. You know, who is Gary Binford, and what is he all about? Yeah. And
he's getting anxious.
We have a little fun here, but also during this show. But we're going to find out who Gary Binford is, and we have no problem promoting him out because he has a great show, and we're all on the same team. So, Gary, let us know like who is Gary Binford? Who's the person? What made you start speaking out? And you know your background, and then from there, let us know what you're doing now, and the speakers that you have, not the speakers, but the great guests you have on your show and everything else. But
first I want to say, Charles and John, thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it and the opportunity. And who is Gary Binford? Gary Binford is a person that can't believe where he is. And the reason I want to say that, everybody, please, if you have a passion and you just say, I just have me, I don't have a voice, what can I do? Mm-hmm. Please understand, just start. Just take the time to start. Take the first step to do something that you believe you can do to help save this country. Because you never know where you're going to end up. Gary Binford was a guy that grew up in Summit, New Jersey, went to Ohio University and majored in music and journalism and had 2 careers. I wrote sports for Newsday and the New York Daily News. Wow. During the time I got to interview Donald Trump twice when he was owned the New Jersey Generals of the United States Football League. And the funny thing, at that time, he was probably more liberal. I was a Democrat because being black, that's all I knew. I never had even met a Republican. And, we were always told as a black person that the Democrats are out for us, although you can see they never do anything for anybody, much less us. So I found it interesting that I have, was going into sports and trying to be Howard Cosell. And then that fell apart when the Daily News got sold and I lost my job. And I went back into music because I had been a musician. I played 4 instruments. I thought I was going to have an R&B career when I was in college, but I chose the journalism side. And then I ended up managing the funky flute man, Dwayne Kerr, from Central Islip. He's on D-Man's Music. That's his label. He also played in Erykah Badu's band for about 20 years. So I went through that. And then in 1997, I got saved, born again, became a follower of Jesus Christ, and everything changed. Instead of a Democrat, became a conservative, started understanding about the love of America, realized as a child of the king, I'm not a victim, and also came to understand that Constitution that the founding fathers put together was birthed on Judeo-Christian values, and we're free by God, not by government. So my whole focus changed. And then all of a sudden in 2016, I decided to get involved because, having been born black, most black people I knew, everybody I knew was a Democrat. Mm-hmm. They all go to church, they throw their hands up in the air, wave them like they just don't care, and then go vote to kill babies. And I'm like, you're voting wrong, and nobody wanted to hear it. I got vomit thrown in my face. And when I say vomit, I don't mean real vomit. I'm talking about verbal vomit. And I wrote a thesis on Christians and voting. And over the course of 500 to 1,000 people reading this, about 5 people changed their vote.
Let me ask you this real quick.
Yes.
What happened? Did you get vilified when you turned over to a conservative? I mean, what happened to your life? Did anything happen to your life like during that time?
Well, believe it or not, the thing that happened when I became a Christian, when I became a follower of Jesus. I lost all. Well, let's put it this way. This is a very good point. I lost between Christian, true born again Christian, and conservative. I lost everybody. Mm-hmm. Everybody now is out of my life, but God replaced them with the whole new group of people.
With the right people.
See things my way, with the right people.
That's right.
I remember, I shudder. I remember one of the big nights watching the Arsenio Hall show. And Bill Clinton comes out, Bubba playing the sax, wearing glasses, and he's playing with Arsenio Hall's band. And I thought, that's so cool. That's the guy that should be our president. And I knew nothing about issues. I didn't care about politics at that point. But once I became a Christian, Charles John, I realized God cares about everything. And he has a right and wrong on all the issues. And I realized his voting wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Happening, I went on Facebook and started ranting, and I had a friend, Curtis Bowers, who had put out the agenda, and Agenda 2, Grinding America Down, about the communist takeover. I didn't even know what a communist, a socialist, Marxist was. I saw Curtis's DVDs. We became friends, and next thing I know, I'm on Facebook trying to promote his DVDs, and then people started actually contacting me and saying, "You want to come on our show?" Me? Your radio show? Why? Okay. Then there was 5, 10, 15, 20 of those. And then I went to a convention down in South Carolina, the Rock the Red convention in Greenville. And that's where I met General Flynn, and I met Claire Lopez and Donna Fiducia and Don Newen and all kind of people who have become my friends. Mm-hmm. And a guy named James Bostic, I call him the big boss man out of West Virginia. He has a show called The Conservative Perspective. And we're sitting there. We just watched Doug Collins do a keynote. And James leans over to me. He's a big guy. He goes, "Gary, you should have your own show." And what in the next thing I know, 6 months later, I have my own show, 2 hours live, and he becomes my first producer. I kept bringing on 4 guests per show every Monday night. That was on Blog Talk Radio. And then I decided to go podcast because it gave more control. And I'll tell you why. We were doing Blog Talk one night. We had a guest from Florida. Her name is Keisha King. She was the one that took on the Florida school system about all this CRT and all these things. And right in the middle of the show, she disappeared. She was gone. Somebody pulled the plug. And we're like, what did happen? And because it's a live show. And what ended up happening, John, Charles, was I said, look, podcast, more control. So I started a podcast 2 years ago. My first guest, I had 4 shows. I had a friend, people I knew, Morgan Brittany, the star of Dallas. She had been on my first live show, and she came on my first podcast. And Bowers, I knew Burgess Owens from the time when he was with the Jets. And a friend down in California got me Nick Searcy, and away we went. And then General Flynn and all kind of people started coming on. And then I went to a one guest format, just one guest, 25, 35, 40 minutes, let you say. Mm-hmm. We went from, and it's been a blessing. And I've had so many guests that, Monica Crowley's been on, Kari Lake, Diamond and Silk, Judge Janine Pirro, Will Witt, Ben Carson. And most of these people have come back 3, 4, 5 times. Tom Holman, Pastor Jack Hibbs. It's been a wonderful Kevin Sorbo and Naomi Wolf. And it's really, really been, to me, a blessing. And this is my way that I try and give back to God, family, country, and Constitution. And it's on every Tuesday. It drops. That's when it drops. It's a podcast. So it's on all the platforms. And then I went video finally. It was audio. I went video in January. So there's been 8 episodes. Morgan Brittany's on there. Mel K's on there. Claire Lopez, Donna Fiducia, and Don Newen did one. Just recorded Naomi Wolf and Kevin Sorbo this week. They'll be next. And Vince Everett Elson's on there. And it looks good when you have people, when you can look at them and look in people's eyes. And we're all about saving America. And the reason I took everybody down this path is to understand, please, you see where I started. I had no inclination or idea to do anything like this, but you'll never know where you end up if you take the first step.
That's important. You got to take the first step to find out. It could just be like this show right here. I mean, we start promoting you, and you can take off even further than you already are. I mean, we're definitely going to promote you. There's no doubt about that. You're our people. You're us. We're all
Well, I
together.
really appreciate that, guys. And one of the things I do I promote a lot of other people who have podcasts because we are the news vanguard. You can't. Here's the problem: you have Newsmax and you have part of Fox News. In other words, Fox will go up to a point, and Newsmax will go up to a point. But the things that the guests really want to say, they cannot say on mainstream media television. That's why you're seeing the rise of hundreds, thousands of podcasts all over the place. And you don't need a zillion people. Just have your following. It could be 500 people. It could be 1,000. It could be 300 people. But as long as they listen to you,
right,
they're going to share it with their friends. And this is how this is getting passed all around the country. And if you notice, the Bonginos and the Monica Crowleys and the Michelle Malkins, everybody's gone underground because that's the only way you can get the information out and the true information out, because the disingenuous mainstream media, you know, you can say Illuminati, you can say globalists, you can say Soros, whoever you think is behind it, they pretty much shut down freedom of speech.
Yeah, it's even. Go ahead, Charles. Go ahead.
You had like John Bongino. He's like, or Dan. I'm sorry. He's been around for a long time. He talked about when he first started out, it took him forever to get the reach. It took him for like years to get the reach. So it really is it's like getting the information out. That's all we want to do is get the information out. And I just want to mention real quick that it's got to be weird on your end because you're usually asking the questions, and you're allowing everybody else. I noticed on your show you allow everybody else to speak to get their point across. It's got to be weird that you're sitting here being asked the questions and letting it all out. How does it feel?
Well, that's been a blessing because I've been a guest on, you're probably my 35th show that I've been a guest on. Now, I've been a guest, Dr. Alan Keyes has had, I've been a guest on a lot of shows. So I get to do both. And I enjoy both. I enjoy sitting here and being able to talk and being asked questions that I don't know what they're going to be. And I enjoy asking questions on my show. And the thing about my show, why most people have come back 3-4 times, I think Morgan Brittany has the record for 7, is because I'll let you talk. I don't cut you off. I don't tell you what to say. And you get to say what you want, the way you want to say it, and then we'll dialogue. And a lot of people who go on mainstream media, they're so used to those 2-minute sound bites, and it's in their head, the clock is ticking and they're going, okay. And you just realize to answer a question, you have 2 minutes and it's on to the next question, if the host doesn't cut you off and start pontificating. And I remember when Judge Jeanine Pirro was on, and Tom Holman, you know, former head of ICE at Border Security, and Tom just wanted to rant. So he just went off. I just sat back and let him go. And Judge, you know, she pointed with her finger at everything. And she just went, I'm great. Say what you have to say, because it's almost like they're busting a gut because we want to say this on Fox. We want to keep going. And after 2 minutes and they're up commercial. And that's the other thing. I don't have a sponsor, you know, and so it just goes. You could go for 20, 30 minutes. Morgan Brittany and I one time went, she's the record. It's about 90 minutes. No commercial interruptions. You don't have to worry about, okay, 11 minutes and stop. Let's start again. And usually they always stop. Like when I'm doing shows, usually you're right in the middle of making a point and it's like, well, commercial break. So, but I understand their format, but it's a blessing for me that a lot of really, really good people have had me on their show, and I really appreciate it.
We have 2A for New York saying we all need to build outside of Facebook. He just commented.
Absolutely. My show is on all podcast platforms. That's the audio. So you can get it, you know, it's distributed and recorded by radioinfluence.com. That's where you would find all the archive of all the audio shows. For me is on radioinfluence.com. If you were to go there, you would find everything that's been done. It's about 90 episodes now, but it's also on, you know, the Apple Podcasts and Stitcher and Spotify and all those. But the videos, the 9 or 10 videos, they're on YouTube and Rumble and Conservative Television of America, because Facebook doesn't like me. They've shadow banned me. In fact, one of my Facebook friends, a dear woman, they took you guys down off her page. She said, Gary, I had it up and it's gone, you know? And it's amazing how they do this and get away with it, but their time is coming, just like what they're doing to President Trump. Their time is coming. They're going to pay dearly for this, because the hammer is going to fall on them, and great will be the fall of it.
It is going to fall. Absolutely. Hey, you know what? I got to ask you, seeing you just brought up President Trump's name, I don't call him like ex-president. He's always going to be my president. But seeing you mention his name, let's hear what your thoughts are on what's happening to Trump, how you feel about it, how you think he's handling the situation, and stuff like that. What do you got to say about that?
Okay. Donald Trump, if you watch him, he does his rallies, and if you didn't know, you would think he's the happy Blue Jay.
Yeah.
Because I believe that he was raised by God for this occasion, and you needed somebody that was outside of the political spectrum. I remember when I was at Ohio University, one of my first journalism professors, his name was Donald Lambert, and he had covered City Hall at State College, where Penn State is. And one of the first things he said to us, he said, if you get elected a second time in even city or county government, you're either on the take or you're see what's going on and you're being quiet. And what we're seeing, we have learned that Donald Trump has exposed is not about Republican, it's not about Democrat.
Right.
It's not even anymore about constitutional republic versus communist. What it's really about is globalists versus America first, versus America's sovereignty, because to be one part of the global initiative means you're going to let the United Nations run things, and that runs against our Constitution, which gives us complete power to run ourselves as we the people. See, so when you watch Donald Trump and you see all these trials and you see all these things, and you know they've tried to kill him and this, that, and the other thing, and you know all the Russia collusion and this and Stormy Daniels and that, and he's just going along like a happy Blue Jay, and the other guy looks like 200 years old, but doesn't even know who he is. They have to point him in the direction. You know, you can see that, in my opinion, that, well, I'll just tell you, God has his hands on Donald Trump, and he's protecting Donald Trump, and he's bulletproof. They're not bringing him down. And if you notice, every time they try something, like you saw this Fanny, whatever she wants to call herself, Hall, look now, she's in trouble. They're all, Willis, excuse me, they're all going to dash their foot against a stone. Now, I want to tell people, please try and relax. I know it's very difficult, but God knows what he's doing. Let me give you an example. If Barack Obama, okay, if they had won this last election, which we did, Trump won it big, but you know, they cheated, the Dominion machines. It's not even about the Dominion machines, it's about the software. Because the machine's a machine. It's like your computer. Your computer, what you put in, that's what you get out. But if they give you bad software, you know, there's like a hacker. When he gets into his computer, it's your computer, but he's controlling it. So they stole the election. But if they didn't, if Donald Trump was back in there, he'd still be fighting the rhinos. He'd still be fighting the globalists. He'd still be fighting the Republican establishment. He'd still be fighting the Democrats, and all the factions against him would still be rising up against him. The machine, and the problem is we get lazy, unfortunately. And if he had actually gotten back in like he should have, what would have happened is everything you're seeing now with Dan Schultz and Steve Stern and Joe Von Hutton Pulitzer and Mike Lindell, getting people registered to be precinct chair people, understanding about how they stole it, why they stole it. And now we understand about ballot harvesting. We understand about so many things that would have never come to light. So the system would have just remained the same. 4 more years of Trump. They would have just bit the bullet, went to sleep for a few years, waited for Donald to get out there and continue on their way towards a Marxist communist United States. What ended up happening was what on January 6th occurred, and to know that those people are in jail for the wrong reasons, they don't belong there, and to understand that that whole thing was a setup, and everything that's been done against our great president is a setup, and everything they're doing now is a setup. When you look at these cases in New York, isn't it amazing? You know, you have Letitia James, she's like, yeah, well, I'm going to get, well, wait a minute. If Donald's such a threat to America, why wasn't this going on until he decided to run for president again? And you're going to go after him. Well, he did that. Hey, it's a victimless crime. Since when are you getting $1 zillion for a victimless crime? The banks aren't complaining. The people, nobody. This is all a setup. It's all kangaroo courts. And the whole situation was accomplished, in my opinion, John and Charles, to wake America up.
Yeah, people had to see it.
And let us see what communism would look like.
People had to see it.
People had to see it. My current guest, which I encourage you to hear right now, Vince Everett Ellison. If you look, he's all over TV. He was on Newsmax with Eric Bolling last week, and he's on this show and that show. And we were talking about the black vote, because they always vote 94% for the Democratic Party candidate. Yet when Trump was running and you look at the polls, well, 25% are going to vote, and they never do. And I asked them, are you sure they're going to vote for him this time?
That was a good show, by the way.
And he said, oh, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And he said, yes. And he said, things have changed. He said, two things have changed. First, because the Democrats stole it and think they won by 8 million when they got smoked. That's another story, though. They've taken off their mask and they're showing you who they really are. They're showing you, we're going to kick you out and bring in illegal aliens to vote. Why? Two reasons. Number one, they're killing off all the black people. So you have them killing their babies, right? So abortion is killing off a lot of their voting base. And they're moving the illegals in, and they're starting to take over these things. Why? Because, see, they're illegal, but their kids will be American citizens. So right. They're thinking the long game. So you have that. But then he also said, it's what's going on in the schools. It's what's going on where you can have a son and they're going to teach him, you can be your daughter if you want to, or you can have a daughter and they're going to say you can be a son. If you have a problem with that, they'll come and arrest you. He said, the thing with the marriage of two men or two women, we don't like it. God has a problem with it, but they said, hey, that's personal. But what they're doing to the kids, this is going to affect all parents. It doesn't matter what your religion is. It doesn't matter what your political point of view is. I really think a lot of parents are going to have a problem with 6 and 8 year olds being told they can choose their sex, and the Democratic Party is supporting this. I think the open border policy and what's going on in all these sanctuary cities and what's going on with the crime and everything has just reached mass proportion. And I think people are going to say enough. And Donald Trump, see, the great thing about Donald Trump, he's had 4 years to show what America could look like and how great it could be again. And people say, yes, but why did they vote for Biden if you had Trump? Because a lot of moderates, moderate Republicans, people on the left and independents, they knew Trump, what he could do, but they didn't know for sure. They thought, remember Joe is Uncle Joe. He's supposed to be a moderate Democrat, which doesn't exist anymore. So it's kind of like they didn't really know, that Obama has his hand in him like a hand puppet. They really didn't know how bad it would be. I think if America knew it would be this bad, they would have, the people that don't like certain aspects of Donald Trump or don't really want God in the country or would rather have abortion and all the stuff going on. They're like, well, Joe will give us what we want. Well, no. Joe is giving you big government and he's giving you communism and he's taking away your rights. And as you notice now, if you have something to say about it, they're ready to stomp you.
Yeah.
America's ready to change, people, but it's not going to be easy because you're going to find out who a lot of the enemy is. And I remember when General Flynn spoke, and he came on the show twice, and he said, Gary, the one thing I'm concerned about, my podcast, what's going to happen when you find out who the enemies of America are? What are you going to do when you find out that it's your neighbor, it's your favorite actor? It could be your favorite basketball or baseball player. It could be your favorite politician. It could be somebody on television. What are you going to find? It could be a lot of your pastors. What are you going to do when we expose and you find out these people are enemies of the state? They are trying to overthrow the Constitution because they're either globalists, the Marxists, the communists, or something. He said, we'll expose them, but are you going to be willing to take out the trash? He did that, said that in 2021. I don't know if they were ready now. I think they've had it. I think they're going to, and especially when they see what they've done to Trump, I think they're ready to take the trash out.
I hope so. I really do. Do you have any questions, Charles? Is there any questions? I can't see any of the comments.
Well, 2A for New York just said, how did you get folks to migrate away from Facebook? How did you get folks to migrate away? Oh, he's asking because you said you had your other platforms. How did you get people?
Oh no, see,
Facebook
my show
started at the other ones.
My show never was on Facebook.
Yeah.
I have Facebook pages. I have a focus page, Patriots Uprising with Gary Binford podcast focus page. That's a group page. I post all the episodes on Facebook, and I post the shows on Facebook, but that's just like posting it on X. You hope people see it, they shadow ban it, they block it, they box it, Right now, YouTube for the video, main video is the main source for the videos. And, Radio Influence does a good job with, it always goes to Apple and Google and Stitcher and Spotify and iHeartRadio for the videos. Facebook and outside of Truth Social, Facebook and a lot of these, they have no desire to help us. If anything, they have crews taking a look at your every word and blocking things and shadow banning things. And it's not good, but you have to keep going, people. Don't let them grind you down. Don't let them discourage you. If only 5 people see it, you influenced 5 people. See, that's what they want us to do. And that's what they're trying to do now. They're trying to put so much pressure on MAGA and Donald Trump that will quit. Now, I started to say they're trying to put so much pressure on Donald Trump so he'll quit and will quit. But notice what he said. They're after you, people. I just stand in the way.
He's in the way. That's right.
I'm not quit. There's no quit in that man.
Right.
All right.
I've been around I haven't been around Don and Eric, but I have been at a convention with Lara, and there's no quit in her.
Who's now the RNC co-chair.
Yeah, right. And great move. And the one thing, when she spoke at Rock the Red, this was back in 2022, the keynote speakers were her, Roger Stone, and the third person, Mike Lindell. And the thing that she talked about when the family made the decision to do this. And her father-in-law thought America would rally behind him, because don't forget, he was the Donald. He had done The Apprentice. You're fired. His friends were rappers and boxers and everybody. Pelosi, Hillary. You can go find people because he was a businessman. He knew everybody, and he really honestly thought that he could galvanize and get everybody to work together. And boy, they said they were stunned what happened. They really didn't expect this.
No.
But the fact that this man is willing to put his life on the line, is willing to put his money on the line, but even more so, the biggest decision is your family all in? Because they're all exposed, even Barron. See, and that's the thing. If you're wondering why you're seeing people flipping and doing strange things from the Supreme Court all the way down, these people on the left and the globalists and the people that don't want to be exposed as treasonous, their lives are on the line. They're planning to stay out of jail or not having to leave the country. So they'll threaten anybody. They'll threaten you. They'll threaten your kids. They'll threaten. They'll say, well, and I think they've backed a lot of people out of politics. But this family has been all in, and they're still all in, including Don and Eric, and Junior and Eric. And the great thing about it is you see no quit in them. Instead of backing off or backing down, they're putting the pedal to the metal. And that's what I do. So to the person that asks, the more they shadow ban and the more they try and block, the harder I go.
That's awesome. You know what? You mentioned Obama about, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes or so ago. Let me ask you a question. Do you think this is Obama's third term right now as president? Is he running things right now, in your opinion?
I've asked people on both sides, and I keep getting an answer of a combination between Barack Obama, Valerie Jarrett, and I
haven't heard that one. Okay.
Valerie Jarrett, and the third one. Oh gosh, why can't I? The other black woman that was in his administration. I can't remember her name now, but Jarrett, it'll come to me.
Condoleezza Rice?
No, this woman was she's a liberal, and she was close. She was in that administration. Jarrett, who was the third one? Barack Obama, Valerie Jarrett, and I have no idea why I can't remember the name right now.
It'll pop up after the show.
It'll pop up when I'm not thinking about it. It'll pop, and then I'll throw her name out. But you get the impression that everybody seems to think that those three are running it.
Okay.
And they're running it into the ground. But this is on purpose, people. This is on purpose. They're trying to destroy. They made it. Think about this. If they had just left the things that worked, left the Keystone Pipeline alone, let us, get our oil here, keep that border somewhat secure.
Yeah.
Stop messing with the kids.
Yeah.
They could have maybe pulled this boiling frog off that they've been doing for so many years. For so many years, they were just moving that football a yard a year for 100 years. They're almost in the end zone, ready to spike it. Okay.
They lost 4 years though.
Yeah, but the thing is, if they had just kept it in moderation, but they thought they had the country, so they've ripped their masks off, and they're not afraid to show you anything. They're showing you everything. We're getting God out. We're taking your kids. We need a new voting base, so we want to bring these people in. So we're going to keep the board. And the interesting thing, they shut us down. They shut us down over a virus that they didn't need to shut us down for, and a vaccine that's not safe. So they shut us down, and then they say, oh, you got to take the stab and the jab and all this stuff. And now stay away from each other and put this stupid mask on. And then all these people coming across the border, you don't know what kind of diseases they're bringing from their country. You don't know what they have. You don't know how many. They shouldn't bother Americans that they're catching Chinese nationals. The biggest number of people coming across are Chinese nationals, and you're getting all the terrorists, the fentanyl's coming across, the gangbangers, the drug dealers, the gangsters, and nobody's saying, "Oh, look, we got a swab. We got a test. You got to take this jab, take this stab, whatever." Because it never was about that. And what was scary about that, we let them shut us down once.
Yeah.
And if you let them shut us down once, they think they can do it again. And people, you notice every time we become afraid, Patriot Act, no matter what it is, every time we become afraid in America, we let bad factions with bad intentions take away more of our freedom.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, we have somebody actually 2A for New York was saying Loretta Lynch. He's throwing out names. Is that the name, Loretta Lynch?
It'll come to you.
Valerie Jarrett, Donna, what keys? I can't remember.
Valerie Jarrett.
Valerie Jarrett.
All right, yeah, 2A from New York said that.
Valerie Jarrett. But didn't I say Valerie?
Yes, you did say Valerie.
That's
I wrote it down right here. I wrote it down.
I think her last name is Rice. Not Condoleezza Rice. I can't remember her name. It's probably because I have such contempt for her. I can't remember her name. Who was standing on the tarmac with Clinton? Was that Jarrett?
I don't know.
Oh, the one they got caught there during the plane
Right.
crossing?
It was
Yeah.
either Jarrett or this woman. I can't remember her name.
I can't remember her name. I remember hearing the whole story about it, but I can't remember
Yeah.
either.
I can't either.
Susan Rice.
Susan Rice. That's it.
Susan.
There it is. That's the third one.
Yeah.
So every time I ask somebody on the right or somebody on the left who has left the left,
Mhm.
it's that trio: Obama, Rice, Jarrett.
Yeah, because obviously,
Aren't they doing a great job, guys?
well, obviously, Biden isn't coherent enough to do anything. It seems. I mean, he's got to be coached by somebody.
You know what? I want to see how. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I want to see, because all of a sudden I was starting to hear myself in my living room instead of in my headphone. That's why I asked.
Oh, really?
I want to see how they're going to get out of debating. How are they going to pull this off? Because if he debates, he's finished. And if he doesn't debate, he's finished. I mean, how are they going to pull this off? Are they going to say Trump is so reprehensible, he's not worth debating? Well, let him say what he wants and tear him apart. You know, but they can't. This is, and if you put him on the same stage, Donald Trump will be like the Energizer Bunny running around this guy.
Yeah, but
I'm looking forward to that. You know, I have a friend my best friend Kenny Harmon. He's always asking me certain things. How much would I pay to see this or see that? And there's one. I wouldn't pay money for a lot of things, but I would actually pay money to see these two. But you have to go 2 hours.
But they would have to juice up. They would have to juice up Biden.
Well, they did it once. You know what? I was
break.
absolutely stunned that he was able to rant and rave and be a raving lunatic at the State of the Union, because I didn't think they could shoot anything in him to get him to do that. But the good news about that is, if he could do that night, hey, if he's so coherent and everybody came out and said, Joe, see how sharp he is? We told you. Joe can do it. Joe is fine.
He can testify.
Thank you. He can testify and he can debate. So let's get him on the stage and get him in the courtroom.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're past the we're almost going on 40 minutes here, but hey, let's talk about New York just for a few minutes. What you're thinking of New York with Kathy Hochul, and because you actually reside in New York, correct?
Yeah, I'm on Long Island.
Long Island. All right.
Okay.
So let's what are your thoughts about what's going on in New York? Let's take about 5 minutes or so.
Well, the problem with New York and California are the bastions of liberalism. I'm not here because I want to be. I'm here because God, I've been here and I want to leave, but he said, no, be salt and light where you are, because my main thing is ministry. My job is a hobby. It's a God allowed hobby, but it's a hobby. I don't get paid for it. I'm not looking to get paid for it. I'm not looking to become, a big name. I'm just looking to do what I do for God, family, country, and constitution, and ministry. The gospel of Jesus Christ is what I really do. So I'm here because if all the Christians leave New York, boy, this place will become so dark, because, there'll be nobody to carry the truth of the gospel. So I'm here, so I stay here, but I understand I'm in Sodom and Gomorrah, and I understand what California and New York are. And the problem we have here is they are leading the charge for the Marxist takeover of the United States. So anybody that's elected, you can tell. And one of the problems we have here that I don't see in California. California's had some good candidates. We have trouble getting good candidates because they can't get into the system. And that's one other thing I want to say about stealing elections. Democrats steal elections at the top. Republicans steal elections at the bottom. And what I mean by that is, try and be a Christian or constitutional conservative and run in your district as a Republican and see what happens. See if you can even, you have your signature, see if you can even get in the system. See, they keep constitutionalists out of the system. They keep us out from the bottom, because if they keep you out at the bottom, they don't have to worry about you ever reaching the top.
The top, yeah.
And that's why when you look at New York, everybody's saying, is that the best candidate we could get? Well, unfortunately, the way things are, they found a way, the Republican establishment, to keep us from ever getting traction in elections. So we're basically stuck for the time being. But people, don't give up. If you live in New York like I do, don't give up. Continue to fight. Pray, continue to fight. Count on God to help us win this battle. And the bottom line is, as I said, they want us to give up. They want us to quit. They want us to take our ball and go home. No, just keep fighting, keep fighting, keep fighting. Look for that breakthrough. And that's what I am hoping that Donald Trump will do this year. I do believe he thinks he has a chance in New York. I've been in his district in Queens. I've been around some of those great patriots. And upstate, he'll do a lot of damage. So I'm hoping he'll go for it, because you never know. And I want to phrase it this way. I remember my mother, Ola Binford, when she was 86 years old, before she died, one day she turned to me, and she had stopped smoking way early in life. And she wasn't a drinker and she wasn't a drugger, but she turned to me and said, boy, if I knew I was going to live this long, I would have taken better care of myself. We don't know what's coming down the pike, people. And this not just goes for New York, this goes for all states. We don't know what's coming down the pike. So keep up the good fight. Keep the pedal to the metal. Keep trying to win, because you don't know somewhere down the line what may happen that can flip a state like New York and California. Could be electric cars. I don't know. And then we lose the state and say, you know, Trump could have won this state if we had just kept the fight. So keep the fight and make them beat you. Make them beat you into the ground. And when they beat you into the ground, get up and make them beat you some more. Because we cannot lose this battle. And if they win, they win. And if they win legitimately, which I don't think they can do, they can. But let's pave the way with open arms. So Donald Trump will say, hey, I'm coming to New York and see what I can do.
We want him at our rally. That's what we're working on.
Yeah.
Anyhow, all right, Gary. All right, we've been 45 minutes. Let people know where they could watch your podcast and everything again, and then we'll call it a night, and hopefully we'll do it again. But I want to talk to you outside of this. Maybe if you want to call, do you have my number? I think, did we swap numbers?
No, but you please email them to me, and
okay.
we
So
can hook
talk,
up at any time.
We can talk afterwards a little bit. So,
well, my show is called United Patriots Uprising with Gary Binford, video podcast. It's on video now, and it drops every Tuesday, the podcast, and you get the video primarily at YouTube and Rumble and Conservative Television of America. If you go to YouTube and put in Gary Binford at Gary Binford 1969. That's my handle, at Gary Binford 1969. And people say, what was it? That was the year I graduated high school. And you can go to Rumble. And if you want to hear the audio, because there's 90 episodes. I've only been doing the videos since January, but there's 90 episodes or so of the audio. You can find those at radioinfluence.com and all podcasts. So if you go, just put in United Patriots Uprising with Gary Binford on Apple, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google, you'll all the podcast platforms, you'll find it there. And it would really help if you subscribe subscribe on YouTube, subscribe to the podcast, click that notification button so you'll get it every Tuesday.
The little bell, right? Click the little bell.
Click that
little bell.
It helps people find the show, and it helps stop the shadow banning, because the more people they see you're getting, the more they'll take you seriously.
Yeah, no, listen, people. He does. He have a lot of great guests in the show. I've watched like 3 or 4 of them already.
Who did you see? Just out of curiosity.
I saw Mel K.
I knew you would watch Mel K.
Well, I've been watching her since the David Nino Rodriguez.
She was here. Started. She moved to West Palm Beach, but she
was in Long Island.
Here.
Right. New York.
She
I remember
here.
Yep.
Yeah. She lit it up. She really lit it up. We really had a great time talking. It's funny, when I started the video, I put on all people I knew that were friends that had been on my podcast 4 or 5 times, because, you know, there's going to be bumps and bruises. I'm not used to being seen on television. I'm used to reading scripts, asking questions, but you have to look at the camera. So I had Morgan Brittany and Claire Lopez, Donna Nguyen and Donna Fiducia, Dr. Candace Taylor, Gene Ho, you know, and out of the whole group of people, Rebecca Friedrich, so that whole group, Mel K was the only one I had never had on before. I had to have Mel K on. She was that fantastic to me. But right now, the current guest is Vince Everett Ellison. Up next is Naomi Wolf, who left the Democratic Party because they threw her out. Then we have Kevin Sorbo, Trevor Loudon, and Tracy Beans. They'll be the next group of guests coming up.
Yeah. So then I listened to the Kari Lake one. I believe that was just a radio.
Oh, wasn't she on fire?
She was on fire. So I listened to Kari Lake. I watched the video where you went on George Magazine.
Oh, you saw that? Gene Ho, and you guys, you and the other guy were kind of going back and forth a little bit. Dave the Blaze, give me a hard time.
Yeah, but you held your ground pretty good.
They have me back. They emailed me right away. They got a tremendous response to that. I couldn't believe how many people watched that. So they're having me back on in April.
And then the one last night. Yeah.
Vince Everett Ellison. He brings the heat. Yes, indeed.
So they were all good. They were all really good. I enjoyed all of them. But all right, everybody. So let's call it a night. And Gary, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, keep up the fight like everybody is. Everybody's trying, and hopefully come back on again and get into some more. You know, if you want.
Well, I have as you may have heard on my show, I have a saying, as Michael Jackson sang, "Whenever you want me, I'll be there."
All right, everybody, have a good night.
That's great.
We'll see everybody next week, and thanks again, Gary. We'll
Thank you. God bless you, and God bless you.
God bless you, Gary.
God bless America.
Amen.
Right.
Good night.